If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Attack the Baseline, a WNBA podcast where every episode we attack our baseline knowledge of the WNBA. And today, we're continuing with our team composition series. This episode looking into the LA Sparks, a team that has changed in pretty important ways, and we'll get into all of that as we do. I'm your host, John, joined as always by my co-host, Kristen, here to do a little preseason primer ahead of the 2025 WNBA draft. If you didn't check out our first episode about the Golden State Valkyries, I encourage you to go back and check that out. But before we get into the LA Sparks, Kristen, how's it going today?
Great.
This is the first time that we're ever batch recording podcasts. We're going to peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's still going great. I'm still on spring break. Except at this point, it's Wednesday. So today actually was my first day back. And I'm going to predict that it was a very stressful day.
Oh, no.
This is now Monday.
Currently Monday.
Wednesday will be stressful.
No, we're not thinking
about that. But
we're
not thinking about that right now.
Yes, so preseason primer for the LA Sparks. If you would like to send us an email and let us know how you're feeling about the LA Sparks, you could do so at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or you could connect with us on Bluesky or Instagram at ATBPod. We're there talking about the league, getting very excited as the WNBA approaches in 25 days from now, or as we're recording this. But Los Angeles, a bit of a more exciting team, I would say, to talk about than Golden State, because we have last year's expectations, or last year's results rather, and how it will reflect on this year. So as I've already said, and as you most likely know, unless you're a brand new fan of the WNBA, the Los Angeles Sparks, a team that has been around for a long time in the W, finished with the worst record in the league at 8-32. For the purpose of this exercise, we do departures and arrivals. So we look at who left the team from last year's LA Sparks team. They lost Kia Nurse, Stephanie Talbot, Lasia Clarendon, Lexi Brown, Zaya Cook, and Lee Yaru in various ways, some free agents, some trades. And that brings on the arrivals. We had a very significant trade of the second overall pick that brought Kelsey Plum to the LA Sparks. They also signed Mercedes Russell and have added 5 training camp contracts to practice with the team as they lead up to the start of the season, and maybe some of those players will make the team. They also selected 3 players in this year's WNBA draft last week: Sarah Ashley Barker with the 9th overall pick, Sanaya Fagan with the 21st overall pick, and Leatu King with the 28th overall pick. LA Sparks. Kristen, your thoughts, your opening thoughts.
I am very excited for the Sparks this year. Last year was definitely worse than expected because of Cameron Brink's injury. She is projected to come back this year in June.
Okay.
So she will miss a little bit of the beginning of the season. So I guess we can expect the Sparks at least to get off to a worse start than you would hope, because I just think Cam will be such an impactful player when she's there.
Sure.
But as we go through the season, like, I think the Sparks could be kind of sneaky good. Like, they will have a lot of energy in Kelsey Plum.
Yep.
They are a very young team, but Rakia Jackson and Ray Burrell were both stars of the Unrivaled Basketball League in Miami.
Right.
At least Rakia, like, I think she had tremendous growth in that league.
Agreed.
So I'm very excited to see how she plays this year in LA. And then Dearica Hamby, like, coming off her all-star year, she's going to be great again. They have a ton of bigs.
Yes.
Kind of the opposite of the Golden State Valkyries
Right.
that we talked about a few days ago, that has no bigs, essentially.
Right.
The Sparks are all bigs.
Not all bigs, but a lot of bigs.
A lot of bigs. And I think that could help them for sure.
Yes. Looking at this team, to me, I think it's also important to mention, as much as Ray Burrell and Rakia Jackson were stars in Unrivaled, Dearica Hamby was probably one of the 5 best players in that league. And obviously she's a player that can do a lot for this team, and I think is expected to do a lot. She's, very much a locker room leader, and she's very responsible for attempting to anchor this defense, which last year was not particularly great and might be something that I would want to talk about later. But Azurá Stevens is a player that I also really like, that is still here on the team. I hope that she's able to find minutes, considering that you mentioned how many bigs this team has. But she was really good in Unrivaled as well, and showed a lot of development in her game. So I just want to mention them as well up top here.
Okay, so I can go through the starting lineup.
Let's first mention that, similar to Golden State, there are only 3 players on guaranteed contracts. That would be Dearica Hamby, Kelsey Plum, and Azurá Stevens. So we do have them penciled in to our 12-person roster here in LA. So let's see what that leads to with our starting 5. Kristen, I'll let you introduce the starting 5 that I cooked together, and see if you have any controversial opinions or counter opinions of rather.
No, I think I helped John do the Sparks one. So I think we'll agree.
Sure.
We have Kelsey Plum as the starting point guard, Ray Burrell as the starting shooting guard, Rakia Jackson as the small forward, Cameron Brink as the power forward. This obviously can switch up, as she won't be starting the season.
Correct.
But ideally. And then Dearica Hamby as the starting center.
Yes. Now, worth it to mention, you say, Cam is not going to start at the start of the year. I think that means that they can start the season by playing Azurá and Dearica together. They did that in certain points last year. I don't think it's necessarily the best look, but if they can find a way to play better together and defend better together, then I think they could be a very dangerous duo while we wait for Cam's return. And we added Ray Burrell here based on the development that we saw in Unrivaled. I think that she's the guard that they held on to. They got rid of a lot of guards. Kia Nurse was a guard that started a lot of games for them. Lexi Brown, a player that they drafted a few years back that is no longer with the team. I think they want a homegrown player to be that other backcourt guard, but I also wouldn't be surprised if a player like Odyssey Sims, who was really good in Athletes Unlimited, is factoring into that starting 2-guard spot here. I wouldn't be shocked.
Maybe. But we got to give sweet baby Ray a chance.
As Lisa Leslie would say. You're right. And then to fill out the rest of the roster, We have first-round draft pick Sarah Ashley Barker. We have Odyssey Sims. We have Sanaya Fagan. We have Azrae Stevens, as mentioned. We have Mercedes Russell. And then I have factored in here and have them highlighted because they may or may not make it, depending on how these training camp roster invites go. Ari McDonald, a player who's been with the team for a while, as well as Shanice Swain, a player that I do not have a lot of ideas about her game, but it's a player that I've seen from a previous draft year that has been around the W for a bit and might be worth looking at as a rotation guard. So that leaves us with our strengths and weaknesses of this squad. What is standing out to you if this was the 12-woman roster on the start of the season?
Well, last year, the Sparks were definitely struggling with shooting. Only Dearica and Rickea Jackson were averaging double digits in scoring last year. So they should keep it up. I think Kelsey Plum very much adds to that, very much helps that, especially 3-point shooting.
Oh, absolutely.
They absolutely made their guards way better just by getting Kelsey Plum.
Right.
So that is very exciting to me. I think Ray Burrell had a lot of growth, as we've said, so she could absolutely take on more of the scoring role. Did we just mentioned strengths?
No, I know. I want to know weaknesses as well.
Okay. Also last year, they struggled, John mentioned, with the defense. They were last in blocks and they were 10th in rebounds, which is kind of crazy to me. I mean, I guess they didn't have Cameron Brink,
who was almost leading the league at one point in blocks. I'm pretty certain.
Yes. And yes, she was in blocks at the beginning. And she was up there in rebounds too at the beginning of last year. So having Cameron Brink back, they will get way better, hopefully, in the rebounds and the blocks.
Yes. I think their defense ramps up like crazy as soon as Cam returns to the team. Obviously, she's going to need some time to warm up back to basketball because she has almost missed an entire year at this point. But Cam Brink is probably the player that I think is most interesting with this team. Like, she is the X factor because I think she can do it on both ends of the court. And because she's such a defensive ace, let's say, she's built in a way that she's so long. She obviously had the blocks. She can have the steals. She just needs to find a way to help them anchor this defensive identity, because I think the offense is going to take so much of an uptick that if they are even a mediocre defense and as high a caliber of an offense as I think they could be, I think they could be really dangerous against any team, any night. And, 8 wins last year was due in part to Cam not being around. If Cam was there, they very likely could have been the 8 seed in the playoffs, because it didn't take that much for Atlanta to get that spot. So Cam could have been worth a couple more wins, and Cam and Rickea playing together, I'm excited to see that more. And again, I'm excited about the opportunity that Azrae gets to likely start while Cam's out, and then they can see how to make rotations that work, because now we have a whole new coaching staff there too, which is going to be important. And that could honestly be a weakness, because that's a coaching staff that we've questioned, why was she the hire? And maybe we see a brand new identity to this team that lifts them into a different tier, like we're kind of hoping.
Yes, very true. You can go back and listen to our welcome the new coaches to the WNBA.
Lynn Roberts is her name.
Yes, Lynn Roberts. We did a podcast a while ago announcing all the new coaches, which there's 7 new coaches this year. And she was the coach that I was the most skeptical about the hire.
Right.
So that could be a weakness for sure.
But it also could be, who knows? Maybe she has this whole idea that we're not used to seeing in the W. Maybe she brings such a fresh play style that they end up winning way more than you would have ever expected. So
yeah, and I will say, in terms of the defense, you're definitely right that getting Cameron Brink will just elevate the defense in and of itself. I do hope to see some more defense from Kelsey Plum, from Sarah Ashley Barker, the smaller guards, because you need to have that too.
yeah,
And I hope that they can bring that level of defense to make it so, that they don't have the most turnovers, like last year.
and not to forget, like, Sanaya Fagan is going to be a rookie, but part of Dawn's South Carolina identity is having extremely gritty defense, and she was very much part of that. So Sanaya Fagan could bring an entire defensive identity to this squad that they very much need. So we feel like they will do better than 8-32. Out of the 13 teams in the W, where do you have the LA Sparks finishing this season in the regular season? I'm excited to hear where you have her.
I have the Sparks finishing 8th. So making the playoffs. Last playoff spot.
I have the Sparks finishing 7th. And I will say that in my gut, this is all purely gut speculation, how we made our rankings. I could see them as high as like 5.
Oh, whoa.
I think they have crazy upside.
They do.
Crazy upside.
No, I agree with that.
So, Cam, come back healthy. Come help build this team out. Dearica, go take what's yours. Ray Burrell, get an opportunity. Kelsey Plum, do your thing. You're a dog. I'm very, very much more excited to watch the Sparks than I've ever been. Anything else on the Sparks before we send this one off?
No, I mean, I'll just reiterate not that I've mentioned it lately, but just how much I love the Sparks branding and the Sparks marketing. Like, if I was just browsing through a team, I am drawn to the Sparks. Like, I love their colors. I love their fonts. I love their logos. So give me a great team behind that, and I could be a Sparks fan.
You won't see me picking a team, but I will be much more excited to watch the LA Sparks this year. But anyway, if you'd like to send us an email, again, you can do so at our email, attackthebaseline@gmail.com, or you could connect with us on Bluesky and Instagram at ATBPod. We're there talking about the games and getting ready for the WNBA season. But we'll be back with the next episode featuring the Dallas Wings. But Kristen, I'm staring at the baseline. What are we going to do?
Attack it.
Attack the baseline. Thank you so much for listening. And we will be back so soon with more WNBA team compositions.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.